Hello, everyone. Turns out the mic works better when you turn it on. Who would have thought? Anyway. What is this vid anyway? This isn't a vid, actually. This is a live stream. Yes, hello there. How's everyone doing? I was just kind of talking into the void for the past few minutes. Luckily I wasn't saying anything interesting. I was just talking about this, the awards at the Cannes Film Festival, and how I'm kind of confused, like what the difference is between the Palme d'Or, the Jury Prize, the Grand Prix. I don't really get what distinguishes them. Because they're all decided by the jury, right, presumably. So why is this the Jury Prize, whereas the Palme d'Or is something else? What distinguishes them? And if you're thinking maybe I should just read the Wikipedia page and it'll probably tell me, that's not going to happen, man. This one says that the Jury Prize is intended to recognize an original work that embodies the spirit of inquiry. That's pretty vague, isn't it? I don't know what that means. And then there's the Grand Prix, and the Grand Prix is even more confusing because the Grand Prix is a currently existing award, but it's also what the Palme d'Or used to be called. It used to be called the Grand Prix of the International Film Festival, and then it got changed to Palme d'Or, and then it got changed back to Grand Prix, and then it became Palme d'Or again in the 70s. But we also still have a Grand Prix award, which is, I guess, and it used to be called the Grand Prix of the Jury, but it's distinct from the Jury Prize, which, okay, so this started in 1967, and it was called the Grand Prix of the Jury, but the Jury Prize already existed in 1967. Oh, actually, there was the 1 year it didn't happen. Yeah, I mean, I get that the Palme is the most prestigious. I understand. But the fact that they have different titles, like, I don't know, it implies that they represent different things, right? Not just like a gradation. It's not just like first place, second place, third place. It's like they represent something. And yeah, then of course you have the Best Director award, which is, obviously different. Best Actor and all that. But these three, I don't know, they seem pretty similar. In addition, the award should not be confused with the Grand Prix du Festival International du Film, which was the highest prize of the festival and a precursor to the Palme d'Or. It's the second most prestigious prize. Is this the third most then? Is the Jury Prize the third most? It's just a confusing way to name them, really. Anyway, the reason I'm talking about this is because I was thinking of ideas for stuff to do on stream, and I thought maybe I could watch every single Palme d'Or winner. And I was kind of looking through the winners, and I was comparing the different awards. Like, I was thinking, would it be more interesting to do the jury prize winners, the Grand Prix winners, just based on which films seemed more appealing to me. Obviously, the Palme d'Or makes most sense to do the Palme d'Or winners because it's the main prize. So I'll probably just do that. The Grand Prix is really, it could have been you, but there was this guy in his film and he was just better. Yeah, I guess fair enough. It's just like, we can't really choose. We want to give an award to this guy and this guy, or girl, of course. So we'll just give awards to both of them. I guess that's pretty much it. But yeah, I guess, how many films would this be? If I had to watch all of these... because it's not just one a year. Because if we look at 46, the first real year, they tried to do it in 39, but something happened that year, and they couldn't do it. Don't know what that was. But in 46, they had 11 winners. Why is that? What was going on? What was going on there? Because in 47, they're like, it's by genre. So there's multiple winners because they were going off genre. But I don't know if they were doing that in 46. It doesn't seem like it. A lot of them seems to be like dramas, war films. So yeah, I need to look at why were there so many winners in 46? 11 of them tied for the first Grand Prix. Oh, so it was just a tie. An 11-way tie in 46. Damn. So I'm going to have to watch all of those just for 1 year. But how many total is this? 16... Sorry, 60... 99 films. Really? Damn. That's a lot of films to watch. Maybe not the most interesting endeavor. You know what, dude? Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I think it would have just been part, like, challenge, like, let me watch all of these films, probably maybe do something like rank them, tier list, something like that. Make content out of it, obviously. But, like, the idea of the challenge of watching all of these. I'm always looking for excuses to watch a bunch of films that I wouldn't normally be interested in watching. And I thought, I like the idea of having different kind of ongoing series that I can do on stream. Like, I don't know, if I was to do like 3 streams a week, there could be one day where I do the Palme d'Or winner stream where I just rank a batch of Palme d'Or winners that I watched that week. So I don't have to kind of worry about content. I'll come up with stuff. Like, that's the thing I do on that day. Not necessarily the same day every week, but whatever. Just to have an ongoing series that I can do. Instead of obviously just dedicating an entire month to doing only that. It's just an ongoing thing that I do like once a week or something. I think it would be interesting to pick like 6 or 7 films from the past decades and see if they reflect the spirit of their respective times. Yeah, but how would I determine that? How would I determine whether they reflect the spirit of their respective times? And do they need to? The Palme d'Or winners need to be representative of their times? There must be a lot of films you've already seen. You would think, but to be honest, a lot of these films I've never even heard of. Like, not all Palme d'Or winners become classics, you know. So there's a few I've seen. I'd have to, but really not that many, I don't think. It'd be a pretty small percentage, probably. But there's lots of films on here that I do want to watch, so it would be a good excuse. I wonder if there's like a letterbox list. Palme d'Or winners. I mean, there's probably a list for all of the Palme d'Or winners, but yeah. Yeah, see, I've only seen... Why is there 101 winners here? Did I miscount? Probably. Math isn't my forte. Yeah, I've only seen 25 of these. Which is, yeah, I guess pretty much what I expected. Pick an experimental film and overreact to it like those obnoxious anime streamers who watch fight scenes from One Piece and Jujutsu Kaisen. Yeah, that's a good idea. Just like 7 hours of La Région Centrale, and I'm just like, whoa, dude, bro, that's crazy shit. No, I think that's pretty funny too. I don't know how long I could keep that going for, though. But yeah, that's a good idea. just a flicker film. Just a flicker film, and I'm like... I mean, flicker films are basically the Sakuga of cinema, right? If you think about it. Don't think about it too hard, but... yeah, I'll keep that one in mind. So yeah, which ones of these have I seen then? Let's have a look. Fade watched films. Anatomy of a Fall, Triangle of Sadness, Parasite. Parasite? Why did I pronounce that? I did the French pronunciation there. Parasite. Shoplifters won the Palme d'Or? Really? Huh. The Square. I've never watched La Vie d'Adèle. Amour, The History of Life. I don't know why I said that. I don't know why I singled that film out. I've never watched that one. I think that's because I meant to watch it a bunch of times, but I never did. Same with Uncle Boonmee, to be honest. White Ribbon. The Class. What's that? Laurent Quintet. Is he the guy who did... what's the film I'm thinking of? Time Out. I know this film. The only reason I know this film is because in my film class at Lycée, there was a poster of this film on the wall. And I guess it had his name on the poster, so that's probably why I remembered it. I don't know why, because it's from 2001. So it's kind of the greatest horror film ever made. Michael Haneke Paneke. Yeah, probably not, eh? So yeah. This film. Maybe I should do a stream where I watch every film that had posters on the walls in my film classroom. There was this film, there was a Kim Ki-duk film called... It's one about the Korean border. What's it called? It's not The Net, is it? It's the other one. Is it this one? Oh no, it's the Coast Guard. It's the Coast Guard. So there's a poster of the Coast Guard, but there was also a poster of spring, summer, fall, winter, and spring. was 2 Kim Ki-duk posters in that room. I don't think I'd seen any of his films at the time. But I do love me some Kim Ki-duk, so... You know, I was like genuinely... Because he died of COVID, like back in 2020 or 2021, like early on. And I remember being like genuinely sad. Because I had like just... I'd only just really gotten into his films. And it was around the time I made a video, I think, where I talked about a few of his films. And I was like just getting into his films, and then like he died. And he was one of those filmmakers that actually had like a real kind of, you know, he had character, he had a personality, maybe kind of problematic personality, but he seemed like an interesting guy, and then he just died. And I think that was like one of the first, that's probably the first time I've genuinely been kind of upset by like a quote unquote celebrity death. That's a little anecdote for you. But yeah, there was a poster of the Coast Guard. And that. And this. I think there was another one. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, why the fuck was I... Yeah, okay, back to this. I wouldn't mind seeing some Dardenne Brothers films. I don't think I've seen any. No, I haven't. I feel like it's probably a boring kind of naturalism that I'm not going to like, but who knows? I feel like I need to check it out. I am going to get to the Kubrick stuff eventually, by the way. You can call this an intro. Michael Snow did what? Actually, I think that would be like funny clickbait for like, you know, the hardcore cinephiles. People who think they're clever because they know who Michael Snow is, you know. That could actually work. Like, people might actually enjoy that, yeah. Rosetta was a Palme d'Or winner, actually. What do you mean, actually? It's right here. I'm looking at the Palme d'Or winners. The Child is okay, but yeah, it's mostly boring naturalism. And basically everyone tried to copy their handheld naturalistic camera. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I assume, but yeah, I guess. I mean, I can enjoy a good bit of naturalism, you know, from time to time. But yeah, it gets boring, doesn't it? What else have we got here? By the way, I think was there an ad right there while I was talking earlier? It's kind of annoying, isn't it, ads? Because I don't know what you're missing, and I don't know who's missing what, because I don't think you all get the ads at the same time. I need to activate the like thing where I get to choose when the ads come on. But I don't know how that works. I don't know how I actually place them. And by everyone, I mean indie directors from Sundance. Yeah, Sundance is definitely a festival that I'm not going to watch every winner of. That seems pretty... That would be a pretty insufferable exercise. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I've seen quite a few of these, actually. Dancer in the Dark... Elephant, Eternity in a Day. If I was to rank all of the Palme d'Or winners that I've seen so far, what would be up there? I mean, I'm a fucking Malik bro, so Tree of Life is going to be pretty high, let's be honest. White Ribbon, no. One of my least favourite Haneke films, probably. Parasite, no. Triangle of Sadness, no. Anatomy of a Fall, no. I actually enjoyed The Square, but no. I just like the monkey scene Not really a monkey, but you know what I mean. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean. Dancer in the Dark, I'm a bit of a Von Trier as well, so I like Dancer in the Dark. Tree of Life, Dancer in the Dark, Eternity and a Day. I need to delve a bit deeper into Angelopoulos' films, to be honest. I've only seen... How many have I seen? Just 3, yeah. And I've seen like half of Voyage to Cythera. I never finished it for some reason. I enjoyed his films, but it's a kind of like post-Tarkovsky, like slow, dreary vibe that can get boring pretty fast. The Eternity and a Day was pretty cathartic, and I enjoyed The Beekeeper a lot for some reason, but I think that's just because Mastroianni, I don't know, I really like his acting in this film. Mastroianni was a great actor, wasn't he? Hot take of the century there. But yeah, I really want to watch The Hunters and what's the other one? The Travelling Players. Those are the ones I really want to see. Anyway, I'm getting lost again. Barton Fink. I'm a big Barton Fink guy. So yeah. I mean, Pulp Fiction, you know. You gotta love it. Come on. Under the Son of Satan. This is one of those films. That the first time I watched it, I wasn't really into it. But on a rewatch, I was like devastated by it. I mean, I'm like a sucker for Bernanos adaptations, I guess, and his books in general. He taps into a particular kind of like evil, mundane countryside vibe that reminds me of like my childhood. So anything like set in the countryside that taps into that particular kind of vibe, I'm a big fan of, and all of Bernanos' stories are kind of based on that vibe. So obviously Bresson is like the filmmaker equivalent of Bernanos, and I remember a Rivet like review of this film. Rivet said that like you can't really adapt Bernanos, and like Bresson's Diary of a Country Priest is like the exception that confirms the rule. And he like complained about the night scenes in this film, where obviously in the novel it's at night, so you're not supposed to see what's going on, and in the film he kind of has to show a little bit what's going on at night, so it kind of ruins the whole darkness feel of the encounter with the devil in the novel. But I mean, I don't know. Piala's pretty great. He's one of those filmmakers that I would never really consider a favorite, but all of his films are really thoroughly entertaining. And this one, yeah, the ending's pretty powerful. That happens a lot. Those are the best kinds of films, in my opinion. The ones where the first time you watch it, you're kind of like, I don't know. I didn't really vibe with that. Because there's something about it that's kind of new and difficult, maybe. And so like on the first viewing, you need to kind of get used to that. And you come up against it and you don't really know what to think of it. But then on a repeat viewing, because you've already been exposed to it, you kind of have that familiarity. So you don't have that initial kind of conflict with what's strange about it. And you're able to just kind of appreciate what it has to offer. And then you're like, oh wow, this is amazing. Those are the best kinds of films, the best kinds of favorite films, the ones that you have to kind of work for. Paris, Texas, I just said, I think. Paris, Texas, I think I need to rewatch. Kagemusha, not my favorite. Kurosawa, kind of boring. Apocalypse Now. again, another example of a film like that. First time I watched it, I mean, the first dozen times I tried to watch it as like a teenager, but wasn't really ready for it. I didn't quite enjoy it. But like a few years ago, I bought some weed. And I had like a few months, because the weed lasted me a really long time, because I didn't smoke it very often, or I didn't smoke a lot of it. And I would basically just smoke when I wanted to watch a particular film. And there's a bunch of films that I watched that year that I had like transcendent experiences with because I was high. And Apocalypse Now, the final cut. The final cut is the best version of Apocalypse Now. And I fucking loved it. One of my best like film viewing experiences of all time. Apocalypse Now. So that's got to be up there. What do we have? Apocalypse Now, Tree of Life. Those are probably the top two right now. Taxi Driver, haven't seen it since I was like 14 or something. And I was like, I'm going to get really into psychological thrillers. Google, what are the best psychological thrillers of all time? Taxi Driver. Watched it. Don't really remember it. Conversation's great. Another film I should probably rewatch. Blow Up. Blow Up was a kind of a favourite of mine for a while, but it's a film that I don't really find myself thinking about too much. So, yeah. What's this? Oh, The Umbrellas of Cherbourg. Yeah, pleasant film. Nothing special. For me, at least. See, now that we're getting into the older films, like there's a bunch that I haven't seen. A bunch of classics. Not just like the obscure films that no one's heard of. But like actual, like, you know, I haven't seen a single Visconti. I could have actually recently. There's a cinema in Marseille that was doing like a Visconti retrospective. But, you know, can't really financially justify going to the cinema every day. So, but I'm looking forward to seeing The Leopard. Because I've heard a lot of like divergent opinions on Visconti's work. Is it just kind of extravagant, decadent spectacle, or is there more depth to it? I don't know. But yeah, as you can see, my kind of like 40s, 50s era is like an era of film that I haven't really explored enough. A lot of lacunes, as we'd say in French. Rome Open City, great film. Rossellini's a goat. A Pastoral Symphony, which is one of those films I watched for the Nobody's Favorite Movie podcast, which I do hope to continue one day. But again, like the concept of Nobody's Favorite Movie is pretty ambitious. So for every episode, I kind of have to watch a lot of films. And I don't really know what the second episode is going to be about yet, so I need to decide on that first before I actually commit to watching fucking a dozen films. And Union Pacific, which was the retroactively decided winner of the cancelled 1939 Cannes Film Festival, that didn't actually take place, but I think in like 2000 and like in like 2002 or something, the Cannes jury like looked at all of the entries into the 39 festival and they decided a winner retrospectively, and they chose DeMille's Union Pacific, which is a film I will probably soon be watching because I'm kind of going through DeMille's filmography at the moment and enjoying it quite a bit. He's a pretty well, it'll be an interesting topic for a video. I'll leave it at that. I won't get into DeMille right now. But yeah, see, I've got a bunch of films to watch here. Bunch of classics that I haven't seen. Anyway, that was the Cannes Film Festival tangent. So yeah, Remains to be seen if I'll go through on the plan of watching all of these. But I think it could be pretty fun. Something to talk about on stream if I rank them all. Anyway, let's move on to... Sorry, let me catch up on some of these chats. You haven't seen Kashish's film? Oh man, you need to watch it. Yeah, if you're talking about Blue is the Warmest Colour, yeah. No, I haven't. I don't think I've seen any of his films. No. But I'm intrigued. I mean, again, that's funnily enough, another kind of like naturalist filmmaker, right? But I know some people who really like his films. I know some people who really don't. I know Antoine Goya is a big fan of his films, if you know who that is. Mastroianni stand based, yeah, agreed. Piala is often praised, but I still feel like he's underrated. Yeah, I think he is, really, isn't he? He's like under-discussed, I guess, yeah. People don't really talk about him that much. But I think maybe because he like contented himself with a style that wasn't like really like revolutionary or anything, but he just did what he did really well. That kind of naturalism, that kind of informal, kind of unstructured storytelling style. But Nous ne vieillirons pas ensemble and what's the other one called? La gueule ouverte, or something like that. Those are two films that I really, really like. Rocco and His Brothers is the best Visconti film, in my opinion. Okay, well, I'll check it out. You should watch La Dolce Vita, therefore, yep. Yeah, there's quite a few Fellinis I haven't seen. Actually, Fellini's another one that I really need to brush up on. But yeah, let's get to the research, shall we? Because this was supposed to be a research stream. I've already been live for like 45 minutes. So yeah. So, for those of you who don't know, I have a French YouTube channel on top of this one. There's only 2 videos on it, so, and I made it like earlier this year, so it's kind of like a new endeavor, and I haven't really gone anywhere with it. But on that channel, I made so there's 2 videos. One of them is a translation of my Kurosawa video that I made on this channel, but the other one is an original video that I did for that channel, and it's a video on Kubrick. And this is actually part of the reason why I haven't continued making videos for that channel, because it's kind of like what do I do? Do I just translate every video that I make on the main channel for the French channel and vice versa, or do I do a different kind of content? I wasn't really sure of what kind of identity that channel should have. But I was curious to see if there was like a French audience for my videos. Seems there is not. But anyway, I'm gonna translate the Kubrick video for my main channel, and I'm gonna kind of beef it up a bit. So it's that video was like 16 minutes long, I think. I'm proud of it. I'm really proud of that video, which is why I'm gonna translate it. But there are certain parts that I want to develop a bit more. Kind of, hopefully, I want it to be like maybe 30-40 minutes long. That would be the goal. I think that's fair for Kubrick. And so right now I'm like developing some of the theoretical stuff that I kind of alluded to in the original video, but I didn't really go into much depth in. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be kind of researching today. Let's close these. I'll keep this open for now. The last chance. Anyway, yeah, so here's my... Don't mind all of my tab groups here. Yeah, I'm one of those people. So yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff here, a bunch of boring film theory stuff. How should I start? Should I start with Virilio? Maybe not, eh? So the idea of the video, I won't go too deep into what I'm going to be talking about in the video. Obviously, I don't want to spoil it. I'll just like show you some of the kind of tangentially related stuff. But an important idea in the video, one of the central ideas, is the notion of linear perspective and the influence of linear perspective on like Western thought. There are a lot of thinkers, a lot of philosophers that have taken a kind of cynical view of perspective, linear perspective, which might seem kind of confusing at first because you're just like, well, that's just a like pictorial, like artistic device, a technique. What could be so bad about perspective? But for these philosophers, perspective kind of is representative of or symptomatic of a particular kind of worldview, a pernicious worldview that has dominated Western thought since like the onset of modernity. And for a lot of philosophers, modernity is basically like the Renaissance, like since Descartes, basically. And the reason why is because they see perspective, like I say, as symptomatic of an underlying kind of philosophy, or at least perspective could only emerge in a world and be popularized and become as significant as it would become in a world with certain underlying philosophical, metaphysical assumptions, right? And it's mostly to do with the individual, the subject's relation to the outside world, and how we position ourselves in the cosmos and in the world, how we think of ourselves as subject. That's why it's as subjects. That's why it's connected to Descartes, obviously, the whole "I think, therefore I am" revolution. And so there's a section in the video where I talk about kind of the history of perspective, the origins of it in 15th century Italy, what we refer to as the Quattrocento, the kind of like beginning of the High Renaissance. And so in the video I reference a book by Erwin Panofsky, PDF. So Erwin Panofsky, a highly regarded art critic, theorist, and he wrote a very, very thorough book on perspective. Here he is, this guy. And he talks about like what I've just mentioned, like kind of what perspective does philosophically to the subject. And because it's not just about art, obviously, it's about a particular worldview that undergirds like art, philosophy, politics, ideology. And the reason it's relevant to a video on Kubrick is, now obviously Kubrick uses a lot of linear perspective in his films, but I find it significant because of the kind of theoretical, critical context of film theory in the 20th century, and how a lot of film theorists were kind of putting into question the immersive abilities of cinema and what it does to the viewer, the subject, and the kind of ideological undercurrents of a film as a medium, as embodying the what Althusser calls the state apparatus. And so for me, Kubrick is a filmmaker who really, through his use of perspective and through the kinds of topics that he explores, manages to really make films that embody the kind of evil, the evil that underlies film as a medium, and it taps into that entire kind of cynical view of the history of perspective, leading into certain like technological developments, military developments, this idea of like the subject perceiving the outside world as a resource to be exploited, all that kind of stuff that's central to the Western worldview in modernity. All of that culminating in a technology like film, where perspective really is at its most immersive, I guess. Yeah. And so two of the theorists, French film theorists, of course, that talk about the ideological underpinnings of film and talk about perspective and the apparatus, the ideological apparatus, and all that. And two thinkers that will be relevant, therefore, to my video are Jean-Louis Baudry and, this is convenient, Jean-Louis Comolli. Now, I think I've mentioned these two before, at least one of them before, in my Death of the Image Volume 1 video. In the Total Recall section, I think I talked about the whole like ideological apparatus kind of thing. Yeah, somewhere in here. I'm going to turn this music off. Somewhere in here. I don't know when exactly, but somewhere around here probably. I talked about it, yeah. I'm pretty sure. And so right now I'm just kind of going to go through some of their texts and kind of refamiliarize myself with the concepts so that I can write this Kubrick video. And then I want to dive into Paul Virilio's stuff, who is someone who, a very, very idiosyncratic thinker who is all about dramology, which is the study of speed. So he's all about speed. And what that means really is about he talks about the development of technology and the ever-growing, evolution of technology towards some kind of singularity, and that how that kind of blends into all different kinds of stuff, political stuff, art. He talks about film a lot as being representative of a particular kind of technology. But I'm not that I'm not an authority on Virilio, and a lot of his concepts are pretty complicated, so I want to kind of go through his stuff and familiarize myself with it. Sorry, I've been neglecting chat for a little while. What's been going on? Kashish is a naturalist, but he tries to reach a kind of feverish ecstasy through extended Dionysian moments. There's definitely a spiritual element in his movies. I also truly despise Guy Val. Yeah, he's kind of annoying. There's definitely a spiritual element in his movies. Okay, yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. Yeah, I'll definitely check out his films at some point. The potential French audience is already watching your English content. Yeah, I mean, case in point, I've got a French person in chat. Well, I think the point was to find a French audience. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Obviously, not all French people are going to be exposed to my English channel in the first place, even if they do understand English or whatever, and would be able to watch those videos. I was just trying to see, like, if I could find a French audience. But yeah, I mean, I've only made 2 videos, so I don't know what I expect. I'd need to really work it. But I can hardly fucking be productive on my main channel, so... Anyway. If you're thinking me reading a bunch of film theory is going to be boring, you may be right. But usually what happens, and this is why I call it a research rabbit hole, is because Usually what happens is I'll start reading, and then the author will maybe reference someone or something, and I'll be like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I'll go Google that, and I'll end up like 10 degrees of separation from the original thing. So what should we start with? I kind of want to start with Virilio because he's the one I'm least familiar with. So I've got the Wikipedia page here, which is always a good starting point, you know. Don't knock on Wikipedia. And let's have a look at what he's all about, yeah? I might go for a little piss beforehand, if that's okay with you guys. Well, you don't really have a choice in the matter, but yeah, I'll be back in 27 seconds, okay? If I'm not back in 27 seconds, you can all leave. I'll end stream. How do I forgot my hotkeys. Which one's which? This one. This one. Okay. I know what you're going to say. The thing is, I was actually back within 27 seconds. I just couldn't find the hotkey to turn the mic back on. So technically I was here. And there's nothing you can do about it. Okay. The guy from earlier in chat, Taco Master, just left a comment on one of my videos saying capitalism ruined cinema. Which, I mean, I think capitalism created cinema. But, yeah. Chat is legally obligated to leave, no excuse? Okay, why are you operating against me here? Are you you're my adversary, you're my Satan figure. But I'm God, is the thing. So I decide. And right now I'm going to take a swig of my tinny. Because I'm an alcoholic. Technically you got owned by a technical problem. Exactly. And that's kind of the topic of discussion here. So that's a great segue into Virilio's discussions on technology. Does anyone in chat know Paul Virilio? You ever heard of him before? Ever read some of his stuff? I know you're all smart intellectuals in chat, so you've probably heard of him, right? Basically, he talks about war a lot. He talks about perception a lot, technology, film. Look at war and cinema here, which I believe I have open somewhere in one of my endless, PDFs. Legally obtained PDFs, of course. You do know Virilio? Oh, look at you, Mr. Smarty Pants. What a teacher's pet. I really set you up there, didn't I? War and Cinema, the logistics of perception, discusses the relationship between image and war technology, drawing on a number of films and film directors, including Eisenstein, Coppola, Griffith, Kubrick. Talking of filmmakers who tackle this kind of topic, Harun Farokhi is one that I may mention in the video. I don't know. I don't want to go on too much of a tangent. But his films are very interesting and very much along these lines, along these theoretical lines. I think Farokhi is actually a big reader of Virilio, or at least I wouldn't be surprised if he was. What was I going to say? Damn, I was going to say something. I didn't read any of his books. I've just listened to a podcast dedicated to his works by France Culture. I'm a Sud. We're all Suds, man. Don't worry about it. The inevitable pipeline of hearing about, a French philosopher who sounds kind of interesting. Can't quite be bothered to read his stuff straight away, so you listen to a podcast or read the Wikipedia page, then download a PDF of one of his books and kind of skim through the introduction, and you're like, yeah, this sounds pretty cool. I'll read this one day. And fast forward to the day when you're making a video where you actually have to read his stuff if you want to talk about it and sound smart in front of your audience. And that's where we are today. Damn, I was going to say something. I'm sure it was really good, but I completely forgot. The war model of the modern city and human society in general. Actually, funnily enough, I'm also going to eventually reference Virilio in a different video that I've been working on for a while, which is my Monogatari video. Yes. Don't ask me how Virilio is relevant to Monogatari, but it will be a pertinent connection, pertinent observation, and nobody will expect it, but it will make sense. I promise. If that video ever comes out, I'll have to do a Monogatari video research stream one day to motivate me to finally fucking finish writing that video. The logic of speed is the foundation of technological society. Blah, 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 blah. One of the things I wanted to talk about was the integral accident, which is an idea I like. Virilio believed that technology cannot exist without the potential for accidents. So basically, it just says it right here. The invention of the locomotive contained the invention of derailment. So when you invent something, a technology, you also invent, and almost in a kind of Murphy's Law kind of way, you make it almost necessary that the worst possible kind of accident that can follow from that invention will happen. So in the case of a train, a derailment. In the case of a nuclear reactor, a malfunction, whatever. The fabled Monogatari video, indeed. Yeah. The fabled Monogatari video that's going on maybe 5 years now. Which is unfortunate because for a long time the reason why I wasn't working on that, or at least why I wasn't actually finishing that video was because I couldn't quite... Sometimes you're writing a video and you feel like there's something wrong about the structure or the intro, like you haven't found a good way to kind of present the topic or enter into it, and it's kind of awkward, and how you like segue from one part to the next, and I couldn't quite figure it out. And recently I think I kind of figured out how to start the video and how to structure it, so I really have no more excuses. They're even doing the new season of the anime, so like it would be a perfect time to release the video, optimal like viewership, but no, I can't bring myself to do it. But yeah, I should probably do that on stream, because there's a lot of theory, a lot of interesting kind of concepts that need to be explored, and texts that I need to reread in order to refamiliarize myself before I write that video. So that could be a good stream, actually. Anyway, where was I? He saw the accident as a negative growth of social positivism and scientific progress. He believed the growth of technology, namely television, directly separates people from the events of real space and real time. Yeah. See, this is what I'm talking about. From this angle, the accident can be mentally pictured as a sort of fractal meteorite, whose impact is prepared in the propitious darkness, a landscape of events concealing future collisions. So this is the kind of stuff that makes you get, when you're reading one of his texts, that makes you go, oh, yeah, what? What are you talking about? Just when you think you're kind of understanding what he's talking about, because this concept here, like when you invent a new technology, you also invent the potential accidents that come out of that technology. That's pretty straightforward, right? But like, obviously, what he's really getting at is something much deeper than that and much more complex, which is why I'm going to have to inevitably read his books, unfortunately. Anyway, would be an interesting live stream, yeah. Yeah, I think so. It wouldn't be just boring film theory stuff like this as well. It would be a lot of like weeb shit. A lot of what's his name? Hiroki Azuma, whatever he's called. A lot of like otaku culture stuff. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm looking forward to releasing that video. I'm not looking forward to actually making it, actually writing it and editing it. That's the issue. But yeah, doing a live stream where I commit myself to doing the research and writing would probably motivate me to do it. Logistics of perception. In contemporary warfare, logistics does not just imply the movement of personnel, tanks, fuel, and so on, but also the movement of images, both to and from the battlefield. Virilio talked a lot about the creation of CNN and the concept of the news hound. The news hound will capture images, which will then be sent to CNN, which may then be broadcast to the public. This movement of images can start a conflict. The logistics of perception relates also to the televising of military maneuvers and the images of conflict that are watched not only by people at home, but also by the military personnel involved in the conflict. The field of battle also exists as a field of perception. Yeah, so one of the things he talks about when he talks about speed and technology, it's this idea of like how technology can reduce like distance, and how it, especially like perceptual technology, like visual technology, film and stuff like that, can bring a distant image to us. And all this talk of like wars and stuff like that, that's one of the main angles that I'm thinking about, and that brought me to this book here called The Eye of War by Antoine Bousquet, Military Perception from the Telescope to the Drone. And this is a book that I'm interested in because there's an entire chapter about perspective, linear perspective, and how it kind of leads into a lot of these kinds of military technologies and military perception, which is like pretty much exactly what I'm talking about in the video. And obviously in the context of like a film like Doctor Strangelove, where you have like that bomb POV shot, but also in 2001, which is kind of all about technology. So that's one of the main connections between the idea of perspective in Kubrick's films and him kind of addressing the evolution of technology, where it's taken us, what it does to us as subjects. That's where the whole kind of military perception angle comes in, because that's obviously that's a big aspect of the modern subject since the 20th century, especially. Our positioning within wars, even distant wars, because of military perception. So I believe it's like the first chapter on perspective. Yeah, so I might go through this a little bit. Now we get to see Baudrillard's influence. Yeah, I think Virilio was buddies with Baudrillard. And the whole, like, the Gulf War didn't happen, or whatever he said. Very much related to Virilio's concepts, yeah. But yeah, this is how I function. I didn't even finish the Wikipedia page, I barely read it. But it reminded me of this, so now we're jumping into this. And slowly but surely the whole kind of picture will develop bit by bit, and then I'll go back to this at some point, back to this. But yeah, let's read this. What do we have here? A quote. Don't you just love it when a book opens with a quote, the relevance of which you don't quite understand right away? And thus the eye is the ruler and the compass of distant regions and of longitudes and abstract lines. Everything is comprehended under the geometric doctrine, and with the aid of the arithmetic art, we see that there is a rule for measuring with the eye. Giovanni Cavalcanti, Historie. That'll teach me for trying to do an Italian accent. Storie Fiorentine, Florentine history. 1440. So this is the famed Quattrocento. Yeah, the eye is the ruler and compass of distant regions. Kind of feeds directly into the kind of military perception stuff that I was talking about. And stuff like perception and the various mathematical, scientific frameworks that kind of come along with linear perspective are what form the basis of various kinds of military technologies, obviously in the distant future. Indirectly, but it's definitely the foundation, and that's what he's going to argue in this chapter, I presume. Heralded as the most important event of the Renaissance, the invention of linear perspective occupies a crucial role in blah, 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 blah. And the mathematization of space. This is actually he hasn't put it in quotes, but this is pretty much a direct quote from Erwin Panofsky's book that I mentioned earlier, which I have a copy of, a physical copy of, but it's the French original. And I have some quotes that I want to use that I used in my original French video. But of course, idiot that I am, I forgot to put the page numbers down. And so I can't remember where in the book the quotes are from. And so I have a PDF of the English version somewhere here, but it's a scan so I can't like search the PDF. So I might need to find a PDF of the if I can find like a searchable PDF of the French version, I could then Control F search the quote and then find the equivalent page in the English translation. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I need to find those quotes, because actually mathematization of space is one of the quotes that I used in kind of explaining Panofsky's views on how like transformative and revolutionary the invention of linear perspective, or the popularization and codification of linear perspective was for future scientific, technological, and aesthetic developments. Much more than a mere internal development within the history of art, linear perspective emerges at the confluence of the fields of geometrical optics, pictorial representation, and land surveying. So yeah, it's not just about art, it's symptomatic of a lot of different, of a lot of ideas that undergird a lot of different fields. As such, perspective is at the root of the unfolding of the martial gazes, three interdependent functions of sensing, imaging, and mapping. Indeed. At its heart is a geometric conception of vision that accounts for the natural ocular estimation of spatial distances and begets an array of mathematical techniques and associated instruments for precise measurement by the human eye. A rigorous procedure for the rule-governed, i.e. automatable construction of images that convey an optically convincing depiction of physical space follows from it. He's jumping right into it, isn't he? I hope you're all following this riveting stuff. Find the quote in the original video, maybe that'll be... No. I know the quotes, like the French quotes. I know what they are. Like, I have them in the script. I just didn't write down the page. The page number. So, that's the issue. How long have we been going for? Like an hour and 15 minutes? Okay. Okay, let's find something that I can quote here. This might be useful. No, where is it? As such, perspective is at the root of the unfolding of the martial gaze's three independent functions of sensing, imaging, and mapping. This might be a good quote to kind of bridge, like, help people understand like the connection between the invention of like linear perspective in the 15th century and what will later become like military perception. Trying to wrap my mind around this mind wrapping. Not very successful. Yeah, I mean, if you're referring to what I'm reading right now, it's kind of complicated. But yeah, it's just about understanding like what a lot of philosophers take to be like the modern worldview in Western thought, and the underlying kind of philosophical, metaphysical assumptions of that modern worldview that you find in Descartes, in linear perspective, and how it positions the subject within the world, and what kinds of conclusions you draw from that positioning. So, if I'm a subject in the world and these objects are all kind of organized in accordance with my perception, then they're kind of like objects that I can use, resources I can exploit. It's the idea that like all of the things that happen in modernity, they can't happen without first being like possible in the minds of people. And for things to be possible in the minds of people, there needs to be some kind of philosophical, metaphysical concepts that are kind of ingrained in our culture. So that's the connection that he's drawing here between like the invention of perspective and eventually what becomes a certain kind of like military technology and military perception, and what then Virilio will talk about as like not Virilio, but what Comolli and Baudry will talk about, and Althusser will talk about when they talk about like the state apparatus and how the cinematic apparatus as a technology that is distantly, indirectly a result of linear perspective and camera obscura, how that technology positions the subject relative to the state, and how that is obviously an ideological positioning. Yeah, I think I just made that even more complicated for you, but you're welcome. Anyway, so yeah, this quote could be useful. Let's continue on a little bit, and then I'll move on to something else, onto a different. If this text is a bit too complicated, I'll move on to some French theory to lighten things up a bit. Before that, a little pause while I refresh chat and take a swig of water. It's important to stay hydrated. So, where were we? Wait, was I on the second page? I don't think so. Wait, what the fuck? Did I only get this far? Oh yeah, I remember reading this. In common with the field of cartography taking shape at the same time, perspective uses a system of geometric projection of a three-dimensional space on a two-dimensional surface in a manner that preserves the relative proportions of that space and the objects contained within it. In ordering visual space according to an abstract system of linear coordinates, this is like the Cartesian coordinates, Cartesian geometry. Perspective binds subjective perception and objective spatial extension through mathematical convertibility. Yeah, so our perception becomes mathematical. Or our perception of the world, our perception of our own perception of the world becomes mathematical. For William Ivins, here we go. Got a name I've never heard of before. William Ivins. That's is that Gargantua? Who is that? Sorry, I just got lost there. That looks like one of those old engravings of Gargantua or something. Oh, he was a curator of prints. Okay, I guess that makes sense. So what does he do? Prints and visual communication. See, you're now entering the rabbit hole, guys. Okay, wait, let me. The sophistication of the photographic process has two dramatic results: freeing the artist from the confines of journalistic reproductions, and freeing the scientific from the unavoidable imprecision of the artist's prints. So released, both have prospered and produced their impressive 19th and 20th century outputs. It is the premise that William M. Ivins, Jr. elaborates in Prints and Visual Communication a history of printmaking from the crudest woodblock through engraving and lithography. Is that how you pronounce lithography? I don't think I've ever heard it pronounced out loud. I've only read it. Lithography? I don't know. To Talbot's discovery of the negative-positive photographic process and its far-reaching consequences. This seems like a pretty interesting book. Is it... Oh. I can download it. Legally. The thesis of this book grew out of a long endeavour to find a pattern of significance in the story... I don't have my glasses on. In the story of Prince, to discover the pattern, it was necessary to approach that story from a point of view which lay outside it, and to take account of values and effects that have customarily been overlooked. Okay, we won't get into this right now. Of course, that's pretty... Is that a photo? Yeah, of course, that is a photo, isn't it? I really don't have my glasses on. That's pretty cool. This is like, this really is that meme. Like you're in the corner at the party. Like, they don't know I'm the curator of the Department of Prints at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York. Oh, this is cool. I like the color of this, like the shade, the darkness, the shadows. Anyway, what am I talking about? What was I reading? Okay, so we looked at William Ivins before we even had a chance to see what he was being quoted as saying in this text. For William Ivins, perspective thus offers a practical means for securing a rigorous two-way or reciprocal metrical relationship between the shapes of objects as definitely located in space and their pictorial representations. Yeah, so basically linear perspective reproduces the actual like proportions and distances between objects on the painting or in the picture, creating a very direct relationship between the nature that we observe and the nature that we then represent in painting or in drawing. Bruno Latour further points to the paramount importance of the optical consistency found in Renaissance techniques of visualization for the development of modern scientific culture. Common to linear perspective, scientific mapping, and the technical drawing's optical consistency. I read that as if there wasn't a comma there. Common to linear perspective, scientific mapping, and the technical drawings, optical consistency permits the description of physical spaces and objects in a systematic geometric fashion that facilitates the circulation of these representations and allows for the possibility of going from one type of visual trace to another. So yeah, so we're saying pretty basic stuff here. So optical consistency, so like perspective, proportions, all that, permits the description of physical spaces and objects in a systematic fashion that facilitates the circulation of these representations. So what would that mean? What kind of circulation? Well, basically you take an objective look at, for example, a landscape or something, and you circulate that specific objective representation, or what we think is an objective representation. But when he says the possibility of going from one type of visual trace to another, a visual trace is interesting. According to Latour, these particular representations possess the character of immutable mobiles, able to disseminate widely and undergo rule-bound transformations and additions without losing or distorting their valuable informational content. Yeah. Yeah. Let me check up on chat. Alright guys, now we're going to read Deleuze and Guattari. No. I was just thinking, like, if I have a video where it would be relevant to talk about Deleuze and Guattari. I did offhandedly mention Deleuze and Guattari in my last video when I was comparing their idea of like the rhizomatic structure to the way I like want to go about doing research and writing essays. So maybe I could do a stream on that, a stream on my like ideal method for doing criticism. And in that case, I would reference Deleuze and probably read some of his stuff. But no, not today. I don't think I need D&G for this video. They don't know how important prints are for visual communication. Yeah. That's so me, dude. Well, there you go. We've got our first meme in this chat. The importance of prints for visual communication. Do you guys think that meme will be able to disseminate widely because of its immutable characteristics and undergo rule-bound transformations and additions without losing or distorting its valuable informational content? I think so. Yeah, alright, good night, man. Have a good one. It is a school night, after all. It's getting a bit late. I thought this was a video, not a stream, so I didn't immediately click. Yeah, I guess I unintentionally misled people by giving this a kind of video essay title. But I didn't know what to call it because I knew I was going to be doing research for a video. So I was just like, I'm just going to reference the concepts that are going to be relevant to the research I'm doing. I should have given it a sillier title. It's a bit too late now anyway. Just put like live stream in all caps in brackets. Actually, can I change the title of the stream? Like, I think so, right? If I put live stream, is that clear enough? But you could just think that I'm live streaming this video that I've just made, I guess. Has that worked? Has that updated the title of the stream right now? Or will it just be like for the VOD? Oh no, it worked. Okay, good. Now people have no excuse. They know it's a live stream. Anyway, hi, Bing Bap. How you doing? Thanks. Thanks for the super thanks, by the way. That was very generous of you. I literally did not know you could even do that. I didn't know super thanks were a thing, but it's pretty cool. I expect you to be the first in a long line of future super thanks on my genius video essays. Anyway, let's move on. Bit of water. Okay, where were we? We read this bullshit. Yeah, I think I get pretty much what we're saying here. And I see where we're headed. Repositories of accumulated knowledge, material anchors for the cognitive operations necessary to the emergence and sustenance of a modern scientific culture. Yeah. So linear perspective and the kinds of images that you can produce following linear perspective, more, objective images, are necessary for the proliferation of modern scientific culture. Before photography, you needed this kind of objective representation. So that's one of the ways it kind of underpins, under whatever, a modern scientific culture, technological culture. Yeah. While these properties do not flow exclusively from it, linear perspective is nonetheless paradigmatic by virtue of its logical recognition of internal invariances through all the transformation produced by changes in spatial location. So no matter where you put it, no matter what you do to it, like the perspective is, if this perspective is the same, then the proportions and distances between elements within the image will be the same. It's mathematical. Kind of repeating that point. They can also be considered more generally as instruments of power for shaping the natural and social world. So when you have the invention of this kind of objective perception that's reproducible and kind of underlies scientific culture in like the Enlightenment and whatnot, with that comes a kind of power. So here, indeed for our purposes, a power for shaping the natural and social world. For our purposes, we can identify their especially important role in the extension and coordination of military operations across ever greater geographic expanses, including the remote projection of weaponry. Okay, so he's really had a bit of a leap here. He's really jumped straight from like the invention of perspective and its impact right into modern military operations. We can hence approach linear perspective as one of the foundational sites of the techno-scientific tethering of perception to the imperatives of targeting. So here there's a kind of like teleological argument almost, like with the invention of linear perspective almost necessarily leads to a perception of like targeting things, which is an interesting idea and which will be relevant to, I think, Virilio stuff as well. But now that we've kind of established this connection, I think I'm going to take a look at one of some film theory, because this isn't really film theory. Virilio isn't just film theory, but let's look at some exclusively film theory guys from the kind of Marxist critical era of French film theory in the 60s, 70s. So these guys, Baudry and Comolli, I think they both wrote for Les Cahiers du Cinéma, but like kind of after the French Nouveau guys had left. I think in the 70s, which was like the more political years of Les Cahiers. At least one of them, I think Comolli maybe. I'm not sure if Baudry did. But yeah, so they're firmly like implanted in a particular kind of French critical Marxist Althusserian kind of theoretical context that informs their thought, which is a very like suspicious, cynical view of cinema. the cinematic apparatus. Very interested to see how exactly you'll tie this into the Kubrick video. Yeah, I keep trying to like throw in like saying like, and this is how like I'll get to Kubrick, but it is kind of complicated. But yeah, it'll be much clearer in the video, I promise. Because I know that I was able to make it fairly clear in the French video, so it should be intelligible. But yeah, right now I don't really want to explain too much how it ties in because I don't want to spoil the video. But yeah, I think a lot of stuff about Kubrick's style is kind of implicitly, intentionally or not, about the underlying ideological apparatus of film, and to me that has a lot to do with perspective. So let's have a look at, I think this is the like most relevant essay for the topic of like the connection between perspective and the he calls it the cinematographic apparatus, not the cinematic apparatus, sorry. And like ideology and all that. So what's this little intro here? The debate over cinema and ideology let loose by the spectacular political events of May 1968 has transformed Cahiers du Cinéma. There you go. So is this, I guess this was published in Cahiers du Cinéma. And much of French film thought. Baudry's article, which appeared in... Oh, sorry. If I wasn't so impatient, I could have just read the next sentence. Baudry's article, which appeared in Cinétique, 1970, is characteristic by... I do think he did write for Le Cahiers beforehand, or Comolli did at least. Is characteristic of the attempts that have been made to criticize the ideological underpinnings of previous film thought and to ground new work in a more self-conscious and self-critical set of assumptions. This questioning mode of thought turns from what it considers outmoded idealist... wait, what? I think this is supposed to be or, not of. Turns from what it considers outmoded idealist or phenomenological doctrines toward the type of radical psychoanalytic thinking done by Lacan, and toward an explicit socio-political analysis of the filmmaking and film viewing process. So that's kind of the context that I was just talking about. The critical context. Okay, let's begin. Let's skip the Freud bullshit, shall we? Okay. Trying to look for a good starting point. The tradition of Western science, whose birth coincides exactly with the development of the optical apparatus, which will have as a consequence the decentering of the human universe, the end of geocentrism. Yeah. There's a displacement of the center. So yeah, so he's starting by talking about how the developments of perspective and all this kind of stuff from that era has an effect of decentering our perspective. Obviously you can think of linear perspective as centering the human subject and putting us kind of at the center of the world, at the center of the field of perception, but obviously science in general also has the effect of decentering mankind, because we realize we're not the center of the universe anymore. So there's that kind of dual movement. But maybe the centering of the human perspective is necessary for the decentering of the human perspective, paradoxically. He kind of says that, I guess. But also, paradoxically, the optical apparatus, camera obscura, will serve in the same period to elaborate in pictorial work a new mode of representation, perspectiva artificialis. This system, a recentering, or at least a displacement of the center, which settles itself in the eye, will assure the setting up of the subject. Right, so this is what it's all about. It's about the positioning of the subject and how perspective and the modern kind of scientific worldview affects and changes the positioning of the subject relative to the external world. Subject as the active center and origin of meaning. So the subject becomes the active center and the origin of meaning. That's an important point. Because everything is ordered in accordance with our perception. The eye is at the center. That's what the camera obscura is. The eye is at the center of the ordering of the optical image, the pictorial image. One could doubtless question the privileged position which optical instruments seem to occupy on the line of intersection of science and ideological products. Does the technical nature of optical instruments directly attached to scientific practice serve to conceal not only their use in ideological products, but also the ideological effects which they may provoke themselves? Their scientific base assures them a sort of neutrality and avoids their being questioned. Yeah, so because these apparatuses which are centered or like emerge out of this particular kind of history of perspective, optical science, because they're perceived as scientific and objective, we don't really question their ideological underpinnings. I don't think he's not saying that like these apparatuses are secretly like in and of themselves trying to like manipulate us or anything, but like the philosophical, the metaphysical assumptions that underlie the science, the technology, the worldview that renders these scientific practices possible, kind of smuggles in a bunch of ideological stuff. And film is perhaps the worst or the most culpable example of a kind of modern technology that smuggles in ideological assumptions. But a question: if we are to take account of the imperfections of these instruments, their limitations, by what criteria may these be defined? If, for example, one can speak of a restricted depth of field as a limitation, doesn't this term itself depend upon a particular conception of reality for which such a limitation would not exist? So a particular conception of reality which makes this whole, all of this stuff possible in the first place. Signifying productions are particularly relevant here, to the extent that instrumentation plays a more and more important role in them, and that their distribution is more and more extensive. So, signifying productions like film, for example. It is strange, but is it so strange? Wink wink. That emphasis has been placed almost exclusively on their influence, on the effects they have as finished products, their content, the field of what is signified, if you like, the technical bases on which these effects depend, and the specific characteristics of these bases have been ignored, however. So he's saying that even people who are maybe critical of film are talking about the explicit content of the films, the effect they have on people, the finished product, rather than talking about the actual medium itself, the apparatus, and what is inherently contained, the ideological content that is inherently contained within the technology, the medium itself, and how it's deployed. So if a film is like, for example, if there's like a propaganda film, you might say, oh, look, this is propaganda. It has ideological content. But Baudry and people of his ilk are saying that, like, yeah, sure, there's explicitly ideological films, but like we shouldn't ignore the fact that maybe this medium itself, because of its technological, ideological underpinnings, already is inherently kind of ideological. I've never gotten so many ads in such a short amount of time in my entire life. Is that true? Dude, I've got it on like the middle thing. Like you can choose to have like barely any ads, a normal amount of ads, or a lot of ads. So I was just like, okay, I guess I'll put it on normal amount. But yeah, I mean, if there's a lot of ads, that kind of ruins a stream that is already boring to begin with. So I'll just take the ads off. I'll put it in manual mode, even if I don't know how it works. Let me change that real quick. If I can even change it now, it might be too late. Okay, so I've put it to a manual mode where I insert the ads myself, but I have no idea how to do that. So you're probably not going to be getting many ads for the rest of the stream. And I am starting to lose my voice a bit, so we might end relatively soon. But let's continue for now. So yeah, I have no idea how to put ads on, but whatever. It is what it is. I'm not greedy. Okay, should be back. Think about the money. Yeah. I mean, believe me, I'm thinking about the money. I am. Don't think that just because I'm reading French film theory from the 60s that I don't care about the money. No, I do. I'm doing all of this for the money. I'm just not very good at it. But yeah, no, this is riveting stuff. But I think you already kind of get the idea, actually. They have been protected by the inviolability that science is supposed to provide. So yeah, so we don't really question the underlying technology of, for example, film. He hasn't actually explicitly mentioned film technology yet, but he will. Because it's just technology, right? Technology is neutral. The evolution, the development of technology is just like, it just happens by itself. We don't really think of it as being ideological. We think maybe it can be ideologically deployed, used for ideological ends, but we don't think of technology itself as being ideological. It's just an objective, mechanical thing that's neutral. I think Deleuze talked. I was just talking about like not mentioning Deleuze this stream, but I think Deleuze has a pretty cool quote. I'm gonna have to paraphrase it, but something about like, it's in one of his cinema books about how, yeah, like we think of technology as being like neutral, but it's not. Like when a technology develops, it's because it's responding to a need. Like if a tool evolves, it gains a new function, it's because we desire that function, or we are in need of that function. And our needs, our desires, what we're trying to accomplish with that tool, it's obviously it's always ideological. There's always some kind of ideological, political underlying structure there, underlying motivation. We would like to establish for the cinema a few guidelines which will need to be completed, verified, improved. So yeah, so this is like a lot of the underlying stuff. Here he's going to go into yeah, what I want to get to is like the eye of the subject kind of stuff. But let's see what he finishes with here. Yeah, so we think of like what the camera is showing us as being objective, because film like is a kind of index. It like captures a objective reality, but he's saying that there are many steps between the capturing of the image and the final product. It's very indirect, so there's room for a lot of manipulation, whether it's intentional or not. It's inherent in the medium that there's a lot of steps between that objective capture and the finished product. To the extent that it is cut off from the raw material, objective reality, this product does not allow us to see the transformation which has taken place. So yeah, so I won't be talking about this too much in the video, but Baudry is all about, I guess a kind of Brechtian influence. The idea that a film that kind of covers up the manipulations that are taking place is inherently kind of manipulative, maybe ideological, and maybe we should drive towards a kind of cinema that doesn't cover it up, that exposes it, exposes the transformation that has taken place between the original raw material and the finished product. Think maybe Godard, think maybe Straub and Rillet, who are very like Brechtian filmmakers. Was there another ad right there? I just refreshed my page and I got an ad, even though I turned the ads off. Maybe it's too late. Maybe you have to select it at the beginning of the stream, before you start the stream. You have to program it. I don't know. Damn. I'll have to look into that for the next stream. By the way, if anyone in chat like has any questions, wants to talk about anything that's not related to the stuff I'm reading right now, feel free. Feel free to chat, to ask questions, whatever. Just chat shit. Talk about whatever you want. Guy who's begging for an active chat. Passive aggressively. Where were we? Yeah. So show the work, basically. Show the work. Otherwise you're being ideologically smuggled. Equally distant from the objective reality and the finished product, the camera occupies an intermediate position in the work process, which leads from the yeah. And yeah, so there's the camera, there's the decoupage, the editing, yeah. This is the kind of stuff I think I did mention in the Death of the Image video. I kind of went over that, if I remember correctly. And yeah, here we have a reference to Althusser. My shoulders itch. My sunburn started to peel. Little update on the sunburn storyline that I mentioned last stream. I mentioned I went to the beach the other day and I got a really bad sunburn on my shoulders, and it's finally started to peel now, and it's getting a bit itchy. Fucking hate when a sunburn peels. It's really grotesque, isn't it? That's your update on the sunburn serialized storyline that will continue for 8 episodes, that will build to absolutely nothing and end on a cliffhanger that teases the next season. Anyway, yeah, so bringing about a knowledge effect is what he's talking about here. Showing the work, showing the transformations will bring about a knowledge effect. Is the work made evident? Does consumption of the product bring about a knowledge effect, or is the work concealed? I think I quoted that sentence specifically last time. If the latter, if the work is concealed, and so you're just kind of taken in this illusionistic production that is, that you think is capturing objective reality, even if you understand it's fiction, there's still that kind of illusion there. And so the work is concealed, the production is concealed. If that's the case, the product will obviously be accompanied by ideological surplus value, which is an interesting concept. So it's ideological if the work is concealed, because it's illusionistic. But let's get to the eye of the subject. Now I'm kind of starting to see the potential connection with 2001 and the monolith. Really? You're starting to see the connection with what I've just been reading? That's interesting. Where do you see the connection? Half hour. Wow, that's hard to say that 10 times fast. Half hour Hegel. You've got half that has a pronounced H, and then hour where you don't pronounce the H, and then Hegel where you do. Half hour Hegel. Half hour Hegel is cool. Yeah, I used to watch those when I was reading through the Phenomenology, which I never finished, of course. But yeah, it's pretty good. When's your first merch drop? When you guys make me rich. And when I have a when I have like 100,000 subscribers, you'll get some merch. What kind of merch should I do? Because obviously it can't be like your basic, boring, basic bitch kind of stuff. What kind of images, what kind of stuff represents my content that I could put on a t-shirt or on a mug? Let me know in the comments. When do you decide when the reading you've done is enough for an analysis? That's a good question, actually. Because oftentimes, like I'm not going to read, like for example here it's just like a relatively short essay, so obviously I'm going to read the whole thing. But Baudry and Kubrick have written like entire books. Virilio's written entire books. Only certain sections of which may be relevant to my analysis, to my essay. So, I'll get an idea through whatever means that a particular thinker has talked about something that's relevant to what I'm trying to talk about in my video. So I'll search out for a PDF of that book or whatever, and I'll go through it and I'll kind of locate the relevant stuff. And like, I even though I do go down a lot of rabbit holes, I do try to, I am fundamentally a very lazy person, so I'm not going to read an entire book if like there's only one chapter that's relevant. I might kind of jump around a little bit to get an idea of the later arguments in the book, but if I get like enough quotes to kind of make the point I'm trying to make and maybe like segue from one point to the next, then that's good enough. Like that'll be the case with a lot of the quotes I'll be using here. The quotes that I used from Panofsky in the French version of the video, like I just gathered a few, because that book is like really dense, and so a lot of it, I did like finish the book, but a lot of it is like completely useless to what I'm talking about in the video. So yeah, I just gathered. Sometimes you'll just come across a quote where you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly the point I'm trying to make. Perfect. I can quote this philosopher and sound smart instead of just saying it in my own words. It's perfect. So then I'll just grab that, and when I've got a sufficient amount of quotes, when I feel like I've made the point, then I've done enough reading. But that's when I know specifically what I'm looking for. If you're asking like, how do I know like how much references, how much citations, like how much I want to go and dip into like other people's ideas and quote from them for one video, obviously it just depends. Like if I know I'm tackling an idea that's been tackled before, I'll be like, okay, I should probably go and look what people have said about this. And obviously oftentimes ideas for observations or ideas for even videos may come from me reading something in the first place. Do you feel like writing a video in French helps your creative process in general, or have you done it as a challenge learning experience? No. So like I said earlier, like the making French videos, making a French channel was just like, I just wanted to see, I mean, I live in France, I have French friends, so I was like, it would be nice to make videos that like my friends can watch. And I was just curious to see if I could find an audience for that kind of content on French YouTube. See if it would work or not. Because I mean, there's film YouTube on French YouTube, like there's film content on French YouTube, but I don't know, there's not really that much, from what I'm aware of, there's not that much kinds of videos, like there's not an abundance of video essays of that style like we do have in English, in the Anglophone sphere. But yeah, no, it doesn't really help my creative process. Like sometimes I'll have like ideas that come to me in French. Like that video that I did on the main channel, on my English channel, that I did in French, which is Death of the Image Volume 2, which is called The Ecstatic Void. The Ecstatic Void is a video on my main channel, my English channel, but it's in French. That was before I made my French channel, so I didn't have any other outlet for it. But the reason I made that video in French was just because like the sentences, literally the sentences were coming to me in French. The observations were coming to me in French. I did talk about a lot of French films, I think, in that video. And I did show those like Deleuze clips that obviously are in French. So it was more practical to do it in French probably overall. But yeah, no, sometimes like I'll have a good turn of phrase, just a kind of eloquent sentence that comes to me in French rather than in English. And it's almost like there's no point translating it, because the point of the video is the way that sentence sounds, the way that observation, the way it evokes a particular image in your mind. And you can't do the same thing like that in every language. You can't just translate every single sentence. So yeah. Sometimes if it comes to me in French, then I'll write it in French. The part about technology having hidden intentions, or sort of opening a path towards a specific ideological direction, reminds me of the presence of the monolith in 2001. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, because obviously the monolith is like this marker, right, of mankind's evolution. It appears well, it's not just a marker, but it's also the cause of mankind's evolution, right? So it's put there by some kind of extraterrestrial entity that is kind of watching over humanity for whatever reason. And it seems to be there at important points in our evolution, and it seems to almost provoke those steps forward in our development. So yeah, you're touching on something there that's going to be relevant for the video probably, and which I thought would come about when I would read Virilio more than this, but yeah, I guess this is kind of along the same lines, isn't it? The idea that contained within technology is a kind of like hidden or like underlying motivation or like direction, like a driving force that's hidden there. So we just like, we throw a bone in the air and we're like, oh, this is cool. I can beat this guy up with it. It's a tool. It's technology. And then we get like weapons and we get spaceships and we get all that shit. We see it as just this like kind of objective, neutral development that was always going to happen, right? Like it's just the natural. We kind of naturalize our view of technology. We see it as this natural evolution. Like obviously, it makes sense that we were going to invent this because it's the natural follow-up to this previous invention. But that would be a kind of ideological assumption, I would say, because it's contingent, really. It's contingent, unless you have like a teleological view. But even then, you can be cynical about that teleology and assume that the driving force is actually an alien entity that is controlling our human development. And that specific idea of an outside entity or a hidden entity through technology controlling our development is going to be relevant to my discussion of Kubrick's work, because a lot of his films are about this idea of like characters being manipulated by an outside force of some kind without their knowledge or against their will. So with technology, for example, we think we're creating it, we think we're controlling it, but in the end, maybe the underlying driving forces of technology are indirectly kind of controlling us. That's going to be one of the major points of the video. So yeah, so that's a pertinent observation you made there. Okay. So, an important part of all of this, of how we are manipulated, is obviously how we conceive of ourselves as subjects within a context, within a state, apparatus, a society, a historical context, all of that. So central in the process of production of the film, the camera, an assembly of optical and mechanical instrumentation, carries out a certain mode of inscription characterized by marking, by the recording of differences of light intensity and of wavelength for color, and of differences between the frames. Okay, so here he's going to talk about like difference denied, I think. Fabricated on the model of camera obscura, it permits the construction of an image analogous to the perspective projections developed during the Italian Renaissance. Of course. Of course, the use of lenses of different focal lengths can alter the perspective of an image, but this much at least is clear in the history of cinema. It is the perspective construction of the Renaissance which originally served as model. So there's a direct connection for you. The use of different lenses and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here he's saying that like linear perspective is normalized, and even though in films you have different kinds of things, you can have like a wide angle telephoto lens, stuff like that. These shots are seen as departures from the norm, which is linear perspective, the quote unquote normal view. That's the kind of main ideology. But I want to get to the stuff about like the position of the subject relative to the apparatus. But he's kind of going over perspective here. Monocular vision. Okay, so this is interesting. The optical construct appears to be truly the projection reflection of a virtual image whose hallucinatory reality it creates. It lays out the space of an ideal vision and in this way assures the necessity of a transcendence. Metaphorically, by the unknown to which it appeals, here we must recall the structural place occupied by the vanishing point, and metonymically, by the displacement that it seems to carry out. A subject is both in place of and a part of the whole. That's an interesting idea, kind of complicated to explain here. Maybe it would have been more straightforward if I'd read the rest. But yeah, the image, which is like a projection or reflection of a virtual image. So for example, if we take film, if you watch a scene in a film, there's like editing going on. There's all of this, like what we mentioned earlier, all of the work that's gone in between the objective reality that's being captured and the finished product. There's a lot of work that's gone into it. And so the scene that's projected is a virtual reality, a virtual image, right? Whose hallucinatory reality, in the sense that it looks real, it's based on an objective reality that was captured by the camera, but it's hallucinatory because it's like it's illusory. It's made up of all these manipulations between the original reality and the final product. So it lays out the space of an ideal vision. And this way assures the necessity of a transcendence. So we go beyond an objective reality and like we enter into this hallucinatory reality. Idealist because it places us at the center, like our perception at the center. Like he says here, contrary to Chinese and Japanese painting, Western easel painting, presenting as it does a motionless and continuous whole, elaborates a total vision which corresponds to the idealist conception of the fullness and homogeneity of being, and is, so to speak, representative of this conception. So the fullness and homogeneity of being, that's the kind of idealism and the Cartesianism. And he says contrary to Chinese and Japanese painting, which brings us back to like Thomas Lamar and the anime machine, because I kind of vaguely talked about this, I guess indirectly, in my Evangelion video where I talked about the anime machine, because in the anime machine Lamar starts from this like starting point of the distinction between what he calls cinematism, I believe, which is kind of like all of what we're talking about here, like a Western film dominated by like linear perspective and that kind of perception. Distinction between that, cinematism, and animatism, which is what anime tends toward and what maybe Asian art in general tends toward, which is the structuring of the image in layers, and our perception kind of travels across layers rather than being ordered into depth as it is in perspective, in linear perspective, Western Cartesian perspective. So that's, I might go back to the Anime Machine, because he might have pulled some interesting quotes in that book when he was talking about cinematism that could be of use. He does talk about Virilio, I'm pretty sure, in that book. So yeah, in this sense it contributes in a singularly emphatic way to the ideological function of art, which is to provide the tangible representation of metaphysics. So everything I've been talking about earlier, how there's like all of this kind of embodies like how linear perspective, for example, embodies an underlying metaphysic, because it's an underlying philosophical assumption about our relation to the world and our position within the world and our understanding of the existence of objects and beings. That's why that's why linear perspective is a tangible representation of metaphysics, of this particular worldview. The principle of transcendence, which conditions and is conditioned by the perspective construction represented in painting and in the photographic image which copies from it, seems to inspire all the idealist paeans. How do we pronounce this in English? Is it paeans? In French we say païen. But the English word, I don't know if I've heard it pronounced out loud before. Is it paeans, to which the cinema has given rise? Yeah. I think we get the idea there. We haven't really got to the state apparatus kind of stuff, like the Althusser stuff. The transcendental subject, dual identification. Maybe it's in a different one, or maybe it's in the transcendental subject section. I don't know. I'll continue reading this at a later date. For now, I might end soon. How long has it been? It's been over 2 hours, like 2 hours and like 15 minutes or 20 minutes, which is a pretty good length. Before we end, let's do something kind of light and chill, shall we? Let's close this group tab. Like when I see all of my tab groups and everything they contain, I feel like I'm in what's the Borges story, the Library of Babylon or whatever, the infinite library. I feel like I'm like going down one of the hallways, one of the corridors in the Library of Babylon. It's just never ending. What should we do to kind of ease out of the stream? I think next time I might. Last time I talked about like doing a like history of manga stream, because I wanted to do like read-throughs, like I wanted to stream me reading manga, and like just chatting about it as I go through, analyzing it as I read through it. And I was thinking like, what manga would I read? And I thought maybe it would be an interesting idea to kind of start from the beginning and like read through like all the major works of manga that are representative of the different periods, different styles and whatnot. And so I think maybe next time, and that's another kind of easy content that I can do, right? I just need to choose the manga and then just read them. But hopefully as we go through the manga, I'll have like more and more interesting things to say, because I'll have a deeper understanding of the history of the medium and its various like formal developments and genre developments and whatnot. So I think I might do that. I might start that next stream. I don't know when I'll stream. I think I should be getting my, I ordered a second monitor and I should be getting it Tuesday. But knowing French post. It'll probably be Wednesday. So my next stream will probably be when I receive my second monitor, because that'll make things a lot more convenient, I think. And I might even try. Setting up my camera as well. I don't know if I have enough HDMI ports though. I think there might be a USB or HDMI option on my camera, but I don't know if I have enough USB or HDMI ports left. I have to check. But yeah, that could be another series that I can do over multiple streams. Like I was saying with this here, like watching every Palme d'Or winner streams. Are you going to start from the Edo period? I think maybe in the first stream I might kind of, in a very Wikipedia summary kind of way, like go over like some of the precursors to manga in the 20th century. So go over like older stuff, like those scrolls, those ukiyo-e prints and stuff. I might do a little history lesson on that. But I'm not an expert either, so I'd probably be like looking into that history with you guys. Like that would be a bit of a research rabbit hole maybe. But then I think in terms of what I'll actually be reading, obviously like 20th century manga, like actual manga. So Norakuro might be an interesting place to start. Yeah, so that's the kind of thing I'm looking at. Norakuro, that was pre-war, right? Yeah, that's pre-war, because I know was that published in because I know there was like a magazine called Shonen Club or something like that. That was kind of like one of the first, maybe the first, I'm not sure, like manga magazines, or at least specifically for the like shonen demographic. But yeah, Norakuro is that. Is it a cat or a dog? Yeah. Inspired by. Yeah, I was literally just looking at this the other day, because I was looking at like the origins of manga in preparation for that stream. Inspired by Felix the Cat. Yeah. So obviously I'll probably have to talk about like the cultural influence of like America on Japan. When it comes to like manga and stuff, and the cross contamination. It's not really a contamination; it's a positive thing, surely. But yeah, I think it played like the Western influence, the American influence, played a big part in the early beginnings of comic books in Japan. But yeah, I'll probably if I can find some. Norakuro strips, or what was the format? Was it like a strip? Was it a full like page like manga? I'll have to look. If I can find the early ones, then yeah, I'll read some of those. Oh yeah, there you go, Shonen Club. That's what I was just talking about. And then there was the Shoujo Club. So this started in 1914, wow. And this started in 31. So yeah, pre-war, very early stuff. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff I want to read to begin with. Hopefully I can find it though. I don't know if I'll be able to find these. I'm interested in the Shoujo stuff as well. Do we have any examples here of like of actual manga? And manga. Did the manga come later, though? I published Articles, short stories, blah blah blah. It published very few contributions from readers. So what do we have? Yeah, like Class S stuff. It's probably pretty interesting. And manga by artists such as Suiho Tagawa. So, one of the earliest shoujo manga artists, I guess. Oh no, okay. No, he created Norakuro as well. So wait, what did he... So he published in both of these magazines, I guess. But it doesn't say here that he published in Shoujo Club. So what Shoujo Club did he publish? I think I looked on Manga Dex and I couldn't find anything. I don't know what the fuck this is, man. Every time I open Manga Dex, like this is the like default URL, and I don't know what this is. Like I don't know if I ever opened this. Did I ever look at this? I have no idea what it is. But every time I open Manga Dex, it opens up onto this. But I have no recollection of ever reading this. Maybe that should be a stream. I read this mysterious manga that always shows up. Anyway, what was I doing? Yeah, so we've got like stuff here, but none of it's like there's no... Okay, so we've just got a one shot here. 25 pages. What year is this from? Okay, what year is this from? Connoisseurs treasure the Norakuro War comics by Zuyo. Okay, so this one's from 37. So this is a fairly where is he? Fairly early one, right? 31, yeah, 37. Relatively early as we're probably going to get. And yeah, so I guess I'll start with something like this. Why is it... Wait, am I clicking the wrong side? There we go. Yeah, I really love the colours. Were these the original colours? Like, was it originally printed in colour? Like, it seems like it wouldn't be, right? It seems like a stupid question, even. I feel like it would. All of these would have been in black and white, right? It probably said in the opening thing that I didn't read. These comics are propaganda. Knowledge of modern printing to create crisply designed work using very graphic trick in his ink bottle. Doesn't say anything. About the colour. But yeah, I like the cartooniness. And like pages like this, pretty cool. Yeah, so I'll start with something like that probably. Yeah, William Ivins Jr. I remember you. Yeah, anyway. I want to go back to this. I want to have a look at some of these films. Palme d'Or winners. I want to have a look at some of these. Let's close you, please. Earliest first, please. Oh, sorry, release date. Earliest first. Wait a minute. Dumbo. When was that? Wait a minute. What are we doing here? Why was Dumbo a film, and why is this a film from 45? Why is a film from 1941 being awarded the Palme d'Or in 47? What happened there? Was that when it was released in France? Like, or were they just like, there were no animated films in 47, so we have to go and get Dumbo from 1941. I mean, I guess they... I mean, no, not even. I was going to say maybe they missed a few years, but they didn't. But yeah, anyway. So these are the films... Wait, where's Brief Encounter? There it is. So these are the films I'm going to start watching. I'm going to watch all of the 1946 ones. I just want to get an idea of what they're like. So this is from 44. 43. Yeah, I guess they just kind of picked some older films, maybe. Or maybe it's just like depends on when they were released, like in France or whatever. Okay. Dumbo has that clown among soldiers meme energy. Yeah, true. But I've never seen Dumbo actually, so this would be a good excuse to watch it. But that'll be when I get to 47, for some reason, even though it came out in 41. But yeah, so we've got this, got this, this, that I've already seen, and Brief Encounter, which I really want to see. It's a David Lean film, and it first came on my radar because I think Bresson listed it as one of his favorites, and of course Bresson is one of my favorites. So yeah, it looks pretty interesting. So did I miss? Oh yeah, The Lost Weekend. That's a what's his face? What's his name? I don't want to click on it because I want to find it myself. Billy Wilder film that I want to see as well. Yeah, Dumbo was released in France in 47. Yeah, I guess that's it. But that, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of strange, isn't it? Like it was a big film. But I guess it came out during the war years, so maybe they just didn't get American films, or maybe they just didn't get certain American films during that period. Yeah, that could make sense. else have we got? Are we in, yeah, 45. So that I've already seen. And then we get to 47, right? How many have we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Minus 2. Am I missing the turning point? Wait, 45? What's the turning point? Have I seen the turning point? Oh yeah, it's there. So what am I missing here? Brief encounter, the last chance. Yeah. The Lost Weekend, yeah. Maria Candelaria, yeah. Men Without Wings. Yes. Nichanaga, yes. The Red Meadows. Huh. Oh yeah, Red Meadows, Torment, and the turning point. Where's Torment? This is riveting content, isn't it? Just an old man confused by a letterbox list. It's there, Torment. I did open it. Okay, I'm literally blind. Yeah, there's no excuse. So what do we miss? Okay, I'm giving up. I don't care anymore. Red Meadows. A suspense tale revolving around the memories of a Danish saboteur as he awaits his execution in a German wartime prison. So this is a Danish film. Danish war film. Has 500 views. Okay, what else? So we've got 2 directors here. What else have we done? Oh, he's done quite a few more. Does Shiori's direct in collaboration with him? No? Are they husband and wife? Oh, she's an actress as well. Okay. So nothing's ringing a bell here, which is interesting to me. I like discovering new stuff. So an obscure Danish director. What's the last film he made? 69. Me and My Kid Brother and Doggy. Me and My Kid Brother and the Smugglers. All right, we've got a slapstick trilogy on our hands, guys. Goofy yet sweet. Was confusing yet easy to follow. Okay, so we've got a lot of kind of paradoxical opinions here. Let's have a look at this. Predictable comedy with some charm. I'm intrigued. Not very good. Okay. Well, I'm assuming that did not win a Palme d'Or in '69, so I probably won't be getting to that film. But yeah, here we've got. Should we make a little? Well, no, I don't need to make a list because I can just go off this. Red Meadows. I'll keep that open so I can legally purchase this film if it is available later after the stream. Here we have an Indian film. Ooh. High praise from In More Films. a debut, apparently. Anand. Taxi Driver. Joke about Scorsese's film being a remake of this. Oh, there we go. Yeah, brilliant classic Scorsese. People are so predictable, eh? Again, director. I mean, I'm not that familiar with Indian cinema, so it makes sense that I wouldn't know it, but it's good that these films aren't very well known, because obviously a lot of them are classics that we all know about. But I like watching these films that, like, I mean, like I talked about in that Nobody's Favorite Movie podcast, like films that were acclaimed at the time. I mean, this was an 11-way tie, to be fair. That which is really funny, because it's like there were probably like 11 people on the jury, and everyone just voted for the film from their own country. That's how I imagine it. But yeah, I like discovering these films that, like, people nowadays would like have no motivation to go and discover because nobody talks about them. But like, for whatever reason at the time, this stood out as a significant, praiseworthy film. Well, this one has a bit more views. A young journalist asks an old artist about the portrait of a naked Indian woman that he has in his study. The artist tells the story of Maria Candelaria, a young Indian woman who was rejected by her own people for being the daughter of a prostitute. She is protected. Wait, what? Indian woman called Maria Candelaria and an Indian man called Lorenzo Raphael. Wait, what kind of Indians are we talking about here? I'm just going to ignore that. Okay, what do we have? That's his second most popular film. And this is pretty much... Wait, I already have this as my watch list, so I've already heard of this guy. There's a few pretty positive ratings here, so that maybe... I wonder how I discovered this. Sometimes I find films in my watch list, which is about... which counts about 3,600 films, which I'm proud of. Sometimes I stumble upon a film in my watch list and I'm like, how did I... Like, where is this from? I don't remember hearing about this. He's a very famous actor. Is that true? Oh, really? Oh, he played in The Wild Bunch. Oh, wait. Let me get a good look at his. Huh. He's that guy. I think and he's in Alfredo Garcia. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see. Yeah, damn. Yeah, that's a memorable face. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, okay. Was he the like the big bad in Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia? Yeah, he's El Jefe. Yeah. He's the boss. The guy who orders the head of Alfredo Garcia, I assume. I haven't seen that film in ages. I remember when I watched that for the first time, I was like, wow. Like, I fucking loved that film. I enjoyed The Wild Bunch as well. I like Peckinpah stuff. And he played, so he was a Peckinpah guy. And John Huston? guy, right? Night of the Iguana. I think. Yeah, Night of the Iguana. 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 Yeah That's Houston as well, yeah. So Houston. Breakout. Yeah, he's a good, memorable face. I like his face. Not films I'm familiar with here, though. So yeah, I guess he was a pretty well-known like character actor. But yeah, didn't know he directed. Didn't even know his name. So obviously I didn't know he directed. So yeah, that's intriguing. I'll look forward to checking that out then. Then we've got Torment, which sounds like the adaptation of a play or something. It's a Bergman script, that's why. By Alf Schuberg. What did he make? Miss Julie, which is an adaptation of a play. The Strindberg play, which is a really good play, by the way, Miss Julie. Yeah, same thing. I'm not familiar with his work. I'm not familiar with your work, Alf. Sorry. But this will be, this is another one to look forward to. An early Bergman script. That's interesting. It's the learning of a life, one struggling with... begins to torture his student psychologically. Okay, I'm down. Sounds fun. The only palm Bergman ever got, ironically, is that true? If that's true, then yeah, I assume he probably got one of the other awards at some point, the Grand Prix or the Jury Prize. I think I remember seeing one of his films. But yeah, that's funny, because he definitely seems like a kind of award-prone, an award-attractive kind of filmmaker, doesn't he? And at the time, he was very much perceived as, he's the guy who makes the artsy films, artsy foreign films. So it's surprising that he never got anything. Is that true? Did you just know that as a little factoid, or did you look it up? Yeah, no Bergmans. Could have Control F that, but I'm going to trust my vision. So what did he... Let's look at the other... Probably won Best Director as well at some point. Oh, no? He didn't even win a Grand Prix award? Damn. Okay, this could be interesting. What if he didn't win any? Okay. Well, that ruined that. Seventh Seal, yeah. Fair enough. Did he get Best Director? Yeah. For Brink of Life, one of his lesser known films, which is interesting. I haven't seen that one, I don't think. No, I haven't seen that. That's weird. It is funny when you see like award festivals, and like when you look back at the old award winners, and you're like, why did they pick this one? You know, like maybe that year was particularly weak in terms of direction, and I guess Bergman's direction does stand out, but like of all the Bergman films, like why Brink of Life? Let me close that for now. The Last Chance, German. Oh. Swiss film. Yeah, I guess I could have. Leopold Lindbergh. Is that the T in Lindbergh here? Is that a distinction that would indicate that this person is Swiss, or as opposed to German, or like Austrian or something? Is that like if it was German, would it just be Lindbergh without the T, or are there just two different spellings? A question that will never be answered. Impossible to know. The Last Chance. So that's his most popular film. Oh, he didn't do that much. A war film. Yeah. I guess I should expect to get a lot of war films in these first batches in the 40s. In the 40s. The Turning Point, another war film. Russian war film. What's this guy done? I was just bugging out there, sorry. Fragment of an Empire. I like the poster. Okay. Okay, Turning Point. Ziegfeld Follies. Ooh, a Minnelli film. So I assume it's a musical, yeah. That's cool. I've been wanting to get into like musical comedies and like kind of early golden age of Hollywood comedies and stuff like that. Because that's definitely something I don't really watch very often. Old Hollywood comedies and musicals. So, yeah, this could be cool. The real folly of the Ziegfeld Follies is the idea of sitting through the entirety of the nearly 3-hour pile-up car crash of a film. But it says here that it's only 1 hour and 50 minutes. Is there like a director's cut, or... An hour and 50 minutes? Did this person just like fall asleep and the movie like started again and they thought it was like the second half of the movie? That's weird. Why would they say that? Did they watch a different movie? Are they I mean, they say the title of the movie. Nearly 3 hour. What? This person really seems to dislike it anyway. Do we have any clarifications in the comments? I don't know why this is important to me, but I need to know why they said it was 3 hours long when it's not. No one's going to mention it, huh? No one's going to mention the elephant in the room. Oh, wait. It's not even 2 hours. There we go. Good review. Not to nitpick, but this isn't nearly 3 hours. it's not even 2 with it sitting at about 110 minutes. So I agree, Tim. I agree. I disapprove of the kind of passive-aggressive tone, and somebody had to say it. What a strange thing to like get wrong in your review. Like, and it's like the opening line as well. Like you have this opening line that's like a joke, like wordplay. And you, because obviously it wouldn't be much of a folly to sit through like a standard length film, would it? So it has to be really long. It's a folly to sit through the entirety of this like 7-hour terrible movie. But it's not 3 hours. Like, what went on here, Jordan? Or the River Jordan? Is your name Jordan and you're just doing a kind of play on words, or do you have some kind of attachment to the River Jordan? Are we about to get political here? I'm in a mood to criticize this guy's tastes now. 5 stars challenges. Huh. 4.5 stars Luca. Huh. 5 stars the Banshees of Inisherin. Okay, we're done here. This guy sucks. He's got 3 Mishima. 3 Paul Schrader films in his favourites. And Affliction. Wait, is Affliction? I get Affliction confused with that. No, this is also a Paul Schrader film, right? I get it confused with that Atom Egoyan film or whatever his name is. What's it called? For some reason. I guess he's just going through a Paul Schrader phase. Is it even him? Maybe I'm thinking of someone else. God damn. Is it The Sweet Hereafter? I think it's The Sweet Hereafter. And you're probably wondering, why the fuck would I confuse those 2 films? I think it's just I saw them like next to each other. Like my mum had like the DVDs of both of these films next to each other, and I think the cover of The Sweet Hereafter had like snow and stuff, and it was kind of similar to Affliction, so I confused them in my mind. Sorry. Oh, and they came out the same year. Maybe that has something to do with it. Anyway, this guy sucks. I hate this guy because he said this film is nearly 3 hours long when it's only 1 hour and 50 minutes long. So he's a bad person. Anyway, then we have Brief Encounter. So yeah, so let me open the ones. No, I'll leave those ones that I haven't seen, or that I've already seen. Yeah, so these are the films that I will presently, well, maybe tomorrow, purchase legally through legal means, and then watch. Probably not for the next stream, because I'm not about to watch like 10 movies in 2 days. But maybe the stream after that, and I'll rank all of them, and I'll have really interesting things to say about all of them. I could also do maybe like batches of the older Palme d'Or winners and batches of like the more recent ones at like the same time to make it more like more varied in style and historical context and stuff. But I don't know how would that work. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But yeah, next stream I guess I'll start that history of manga thing, which I'm kind of looking forward to actually. Could only find a 2-hour cut. Maybe he just took a lot of piss breaks and it took him 3 hours to finish the movie. Yeah. See, I've got my smartest my smartest minds on the question of why did this guy lie about the duration of the film in his Letterboxd review. And I want to get to the bottom of this, but I think it's a dead end. I think the guy's just a piece of shit, to be honest. And on that note, on that bombshell, as Mr. Clarkson used to say, I think we'll end here. Again, another 3-hour-long stream. See, he could have said that about this stream, or actually he could have said that about last stream, that it was nearly 3 hours long. But he can't say it about this stream because we've officially gone over 3 hours now, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. I think I understand now, like, professional live streamers who do this every day for like hours on end. Because for the first stream I was kind of apprehensive. I was like, is this going to be like, am I going to be able to like talk, let alone be entertaining for like multiple hours? And then last stream I was like, I really enjoyed it. I was surprised. I was just like chatting with you guys, with chat the whole time. And I barely did anything. I basically did nothing last stream. At least this stream, like, I kind of like read some stuff, did some research, read some questionable Letterboxd reviews. I wasn't entertaining doing it, but I did do it for 3 hours. And it's actually surprisingly easy to like just chat shit for 3 hours. And it's kind of like addictive. I've got a taste for it now. Because even when you only have like 10 viewers, you feel a sense of like you're not alone anymore. People are watching you, so that means that whatever you're doing must be important, and you feel important. And on that second note, I think we'll end the stream. Thanks again, guys. Thanks for the like 2 or 3 of you who like stayed in chat the whole time, contributing the whole time. I enjoyed myself again. I know it was a pretty dry stream, but I hope I introduced some interesting ideas maybe to some of you, and I hope I gave you or I hope I made you want to watch the Kubrick video that will eventually at some point come out of that research, that very boring research. But yeah, so next stream maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, something like that. And yeah, I'll see you then. Thanks, guys. Here's where we find out if my